of the things that business owners forget a lot is to prepare for their own retirement.
Hi, my name's Nick Palavita, and today I'm with a very special guest, a certified financial planner, a chartered retirement plan specialist, and president of National Pension Partners, Max Quillette. Max, tell me what you do at National Pension Partners.
Well, Nick, we help successful small businesses and professionals put together retirement plans that provide them the maximum retirement benefits and big tax deductions at the same time.
Well, how do you do this?
Well, we get on an internet conferencing system with the client, we review their goals, what they want to accomplish, and then put together strategies to help them in implementing a retirement plan that benefits them, not everybody else.
Well, that sounds really good, but how much does this cost?
Well, it's really not bad because the first consultation is free. That allows us to go through and discover whether this strategy works for that business and for you as the business owner and helping you maximize your retirement.
Well, Max, how do we get this free appointment?
It's really pretty simple, Nick. You can either go to our website below or call us at 877-252-1692, and then we can set up a time with either myself, Nick, or one of our other retirement plan specialists, another CPA or advisor in the office to go over this with you and make sure it fits for you.
Hi, my name is Lewis Haupt. I work with National Pension Partners, and I work with businesses to allow them to put the maximum away that they can for themselves and to save taxes.
Hi, I'm Brad Coyle, and I'm the brokerage manager at National Pension Partners. We're always analyzing plan fund choices in order to ensure the participant's success.
If you want more information on how we can help you and your business put more money away in a retirement plan than you ever thought possible, contact us at the website below or call us at 877-252.
A lot's going on in the world, and we'll be talking about that here on Pod TV and everything like that. But a lot's going on. I see that I've got Rick Rosner joining me, and we'll see what he's got on his mind as well. But definitely, there's even talk about how a Ben Gvir flotilla video has shattered Israel's multi-million-dollar Hasbara. So the UK summons Israel's charged the affairs over the video of minister taunting activists. So that is something going on in Israel. And divers killed in Maldives cave may have taken wrong tunnel, is what the recovery firm CEO is saying. No way out, and all along those lines. So 5 cave divers slipped beneath the waves in the Maldives and why they didn't resurface. So that's what some folks are talking about as well. U.S. is simply choosing not to stop Ebola outbreak after massive public health cuts is what experts are saying. So how bushmeat, burial rights, and disinformation make the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, and an Ebola area and everything like that. So U.S. curbs on travelers exposed to deadly viruses may infringe rights is what some folks are saying as well. And Ukraine says its drones hit another refinery deep inside Russia as long-range strikes escalate. So it looks like these drones are definitely doing their job as far as Ukraine, and I guess to some degree, Russia is concerned. And as floods get worse, Britain tries a new solution, beavers. So apparently they're trying to use beavers to help in the whole situation with flooding in London. And UK did not vet former Prince Andrews before making him a trade envoy. So Andrew was not vetted for the controversial UK trade envoy role and everything like that. Queen Elizabeth II was very keen for Andrew to get the UK trade envoy and everything like that. And Russia flexes its nuclear muscles as tensions rise with NATO. Russia holds nuclear drills on land, sea, and air, joined by its ally, Belarus, and everything like that. So Putin and Xi signal unity but failed to reach a deal on a pipeline sought by Russia. So that's something that folks are talking about as well. And a hall linked to Buddhist saint Kokai burns down on Maya Jima and everything like that. So eternal flame still burns after fire. It destroyed a Buddhist hall in Japan. And General Assembly backs a historic World Court climate crisis ruling. So UN backs a world climate opinion and all in that space. So that's going on as Rutte shrugs off shrinking U.S. military presence in Europe as expected. And Israel strikes on southern Lebanon killed 19, including children and women, according to what officials reported a couple of days ago, and all along those lines. And I'm also understanding that a couple of things that I saw in the news earlier before I bring in Rick. Apparently, Queen Elizabeth was not that keen on Trump and everything like that. And apparently she had had some conversations with former President Barack Obama, where she was basically saying that she was surprised that the U.S. would be electing this particular gentleman not once but twice, and all along those lines. But that is something from a book that is coming out about her life and everything like that. So I did see that was reported and everything like that. I also saw that, and this is where I'll bring in Rick, that apparently Trump was up early this morning tweeting about how he's undefeated in the primaries and everything like that, because all his candidates apparently won. So he was bragging about the fact that he was something like 19-0 or something like that. But apparently he was up in the wee hours of the morning on Truth Social bragging on
he should get some sleep. The guy should get some sleep. His brain might work better. He also said that if Jesus Christ were counting votes in the state of California, he would have won because Latinos love Trump. Which, if you look at the statistics, I think his approval among Latinos is currently at 27%.
Right.
Kimmel last night said, why would you want Jesus, if Jesus were to come back, why would you want to put him to work counting votes? He'd probably have more important shit to do.
I would think you'd have more important things to do. Speaking of Kimmel, I understand Kimmel had some very good guests. He had David Burns, I think, was one of his guests. They were doing Burning Down the House a couple of days ago and everything like that. And of course, his last show is coming up with Seth Gilbert. So it was actually Seth Gilbert that had.
Kimmel is going dark tonight. He said he's not going to do a show tonight to honor his friend Stephen Colbert. It's Colbert's last show tonight, and Kimmel said everybody should go watch his show. And he talked about how 20 years ago, 30 years ago, there was this big war between Jay Leno and David Letterman. Mm-hmm. They did not super get along, and it's nicer. It's better it sucks that late night shows are being, going away, but it's nice that the late night hosts get along like each other. They're friends with each other. And I don't know. And I mentioned this on when I was arguing with Lance, that it's crazy that these so-called Hollywood, coastal elites in New York and LA, that are supposed to be, decadent and, are really, it's Trump who's decadent. It's Trump who cheated on all his wives, and Kimmel and Colbert are good Christians, good Catholics, very decent people. And it's not the Hollywood elites. It's freaking Trump who's an a-hole. I got to mention, in weird times, it's nice to have sports to look at, especially if you live in a town with a good team. And like Ohtani pitched for the Dodgers last night, 5 shutout innings. The very first pitch they threw at him, he hit a home run. So it's a nice distraction from things that suck in the world. This is day 18 of gas having a national average price over $4.50 a gallon.
It's $5.19 a gallon here.
Yeah.
I took a picture of it. I can try to upload it, and that's not diesel. Okay, this is what I try to tell people. Yeah, diesel's always higher. This is the high test premium, but it is not diesel. $5.19.
Diesel is at $5.65 nationwide average.
And it's not just here in North Carolina and California, but apparently Pennsylvania fans are also upset because there was an article that said we've never been this bad. Eastern Pennsylvania is weighing their rising costs. So New York Times spoke with Allentown residents on the rising costs. So even Pennsylvania voters are losing faith in Congress amid their rising costs. So there's a lot of rising costs there in Pennsylvania as well.
I don't hear many complaining, though. I really don't. I hear them all making excuses, and it's always, well, Biden, every word out of their mouth, but Biden, well, Biden. I mean, and I'm just kind of sick of it because we weren't allowed to do that. I'm going to have to step away.
No problem.
If you look at the gas map from AAA, which puts out a daily map of gas prices, there's no state where the lowest available gas price is under 401. So,
Yep. And what are our thoughts around this notion that apparently we've got a U.S. indictment of the former Cuban president, Raul Castro, which I believe is the brother of Fidel. And so the Justice Department has charged Raul Castro as Trump is escalating pressure campaign against Cuba. So apparently we've got an indictment against the former.
Raul Castro was 94 years old. I don't know when the last time he was in power.
It's been a while.
Are we really going to go in and do military action against one more country in the middle of if looking at places, it would probably be easier to knock over Cuba's regime than certainly it's easier than Iran, and probably Venezuela. We didn't exactly knock over Venezuela's regime.
No, we didn't knock it over. They still got their people in charge and everything like that. Kim, I know you've done some work in the past in cybersecurity. I know we've got Rex's show that is TechStorm. That's a regular channel here on the network and everything like that. But I just saw an article that yesterday Trump is set to sign an AI cybersecurity directive as soon as today. So is this going to do anything? Because apparently we're going to try to police the frontier around AI and everything like that. But I know that
so far, anytime a president assigns someone to be head of anything security, they really don't do a lot. There's a lot of money funded in that direction, but I don't know what they do with that money. People have been trying to fund cybersecurity for years. I was a member of the Smart Cities Project. I wasn't a member of their program, but I participated a lot in it and went to DC a lot. And one of the things I tried to pitch back in 2015 was more cybersecurity. He did have someone head of cybersecurity, or they did, but he's no longer there. I guess Trump gets rid of a lot of people and then goes, "Oops, I shouldn't have done that." But the cybersecurity initiatives go beyond what a person at that level can comprehend. They're more of a CEO that really doesn't understand what's going on. If you watch Rex's show, I like it in many ways because it's, I hate using this word, but it's dumbing down a lot so that people can understand it. I've worked with Rex for many, many years. I met him on speaking engagements where he was speaking about cybersecurity back when people weren't. And he has a great team of people. He's also teamed up. We've committed the whole channel to cybersecurity and tech talks because no one else is doing this right now. And I think it's very important. Digs deep into a situation before he puts it on TV. What you're going to get are facts and details of a lot of research. He is working with some big influencers who have a lot of followers, so that's good. But I think this channel is a good, healthy educational channel. And, we hope to build on it. But one of the things that we're going to be discussing is all the fraud that occurs, how AI is not being used to curtail that fraud when it could, like on social media. They'll go through every video you post, and if you post a song that's copywritten, like 30 seconds of it, they're going to take you down. If you post something that you don't like about Trump and they don't like what you said, they're going to take you down. But they allow imposters, big celebrities, to defraud many people and to continue impostoring people. I mean, like you have big celebrities like Mark Wahlberg and stuff like that being impostered and taking money from people. And AI, that could be so easy for AI to be used in the meta world to go through and scan for any imposter and remove them. But they don't. And Rex and I determined the reason why they don't is Meta is the imposter. they are the imposters. But I've tried to get them to take down people who promote naked women on the internet and share videos and pictures of it. And I would try to turn them in, and they wouldn't do anything about it. In fact, they would just make these people angrier at me. So I think Meta and the owners of Meta are guilty of this fraud. And they're the ones, because they're not doing anything about it, and they could. AI could easily strip every imposter off the internet. Easily.
There's a lot of business, fake, bot accounts, all that gives people a lot of traffic. I looked it up, and cybercrime costs the world an estimated $10.5 trillion a year.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
In the U.S. and every place really, but the U.S., the boomers have all the money, and the youngest boomer is now, the oldest boomers are now 80. The youngest boomers are 62.
62.
And a lot of boomers, and then what comes before boomers? The silent generation. Anyway, old people have a ton of money in the U.S. And we are easier to scam. If you get the AARP news magazine, half of every issue is how not to get scammed, and it is I think I'm pretty hip to stuff. I almost got scammed last week in a thing where you could sign up to win a Gibson guitar for $15. And fortunately, I Googled it before I gave them my credit card information, but I came very close to giving my credit card number to scammers. And with AI, it's, you said AI could help prevent scammers, but AI helps scammers because now they can duplicate the voice of a family member. So when they used to run the grandma scam, they needed a grandma who was a little bit dumb when they called up and said, "Grandma, I'm in Tijuana. I'm in jail. You got to send $10,000." But now they can duplicate your grandkid's voice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also they can pretend that they are the celebrity, and with video and voice, and they can just talk to you, visually talk to you. And I had someone, unfortunately, who was scammed by one, and it was a good scam. Like, they knew exactly, but the AI they used was phenomenal. I have to admit, I would have believed it.
So here's how it works. It's called fattening the pig and then slaughtering the pig. So you've got a cell phone, and say you're a boomer like me, and a message comes through, and it says, "Hey Nancy, sorry to have missed you. I'll be blah, 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 blah." And then like a certain percentage of people will be conscientious enough to say, "Not Nancy. I'm da-da-da," and you have the wrong number. And then that person says, "Oh, sorry." And then you start talking or texting back and forth. And then over time, you get to be friends. And in some cases, some of the scam is the person who texted you is a celebrity, like you said, Mark Wahlberg, and you get to be friends over a period of a couple months. That's fattening the pig. And now that you're friends, you can run a romance scam where Rick and Mark, if it's a 69 to 75-year-old lady who's kind of losing it, Mark Wahlberg can say, I really feel like we have a strong connection here, and start sending pictures of him. And anyway,
video. They do video chat now. Video chat.
You fatten the pig. You get to be friends over 3 months. Then you slaughter the pig by starting to recommend investments or running a romance scam.
How do you convince someone who is lonely and they just video chatted with, say, Mark Wahlberg or John Bon Jovi or whoever, right? They just video chatted with them, how do you argue with them and say that wasn't them?
It's really tough, because I've read about all
can't.
these cases where it's finally a kid, a 75-year-old lady, an 81-year-old man. Their kids who are in their 50s find out this is going on. Why is my mom or dad's bank account going down by tens of thousands of dollars? They find it out about this, and then they confront the boomer, and they say this is bullshit. That's not Mark Wahlberg, and it's very hard to turn somebody around.
It's very hard, and we busted one of the scammers. We traced him all the way down to Alabama. I thought for sure it'd be out of the country. Everyone blames Russia, but quite honestly, South Africa has a high number of scammers there, but places that they have nothing else to lose, right? So, but the one in Alabama, she was pretending to be a bunch of male. So she was good. She was very good.
Did she get arrested? Were you able to get her prosecuted?
No, because she was across state lines, and we were working with the police, and the FBI didn't think it was a big enough deal, I guess. But we did trace it. She had 4 bank accounts that she was funneling at least $40,000 per bank account a month in, and nothing happened to her. And this happens to a lot of the internet scams, and a lot of internet crime is you can catch them, but prosecuting them is a different story.
I have some. Hold on one sec. Let me give
people
you
in prison do it.
American adults age 60 and older lose an estimated $8 billion to $81 billion annually to cybercrime and online fraud, losing an average, according to the FBI, of $38,500 for every victim.
Yeah, and part of it, they are using
to give money to, like $20. But $20 will be my limit of an unknown, like maybe. And I'll research it a little bit, maybe Google and make sure they're legit online. But still, anybody can fake anything. And there they are. Another big fraud thing is going back to the mail fraud now. And I've been getting all kinds of letters in the mail that look very legitimately like my mortgage company. Same company name, same letterhead. And, they go, oh, we can do this, this, and this. And they have all the details of my mortgage on there. So I look down and I read the number and I go, you know what? Before I dial that number, I'm going to dial the number online. And I call them and I ask them, is this you? And they go, no, we haven't sent out any advertising letters. But do you think that they file a claim against these people? No. And so I took that letter and I gave it to the police department. Nobody's done anything about it. So
a lot of it is the call center
continue because the law enforcement, and these would be easy bust. They would be easy to bust these people.
But Kim, how easy are they to bust when a lot of these call centers and a lot of these scam centers aren't even, as you just said, in the country and everything like that? So that's part of the case and everything like that.
But the letters that I've been getting would be easy to bust. They're coming from inside the country. The letters are. A lot of the transfer of money goes to different countries. I was shocked. This woman was working out of Alabama with 4 bank accounts in Alabama. I was shocked. I mean, this woman had it down and she knew nothing was going to happen to her. So,
right. There's a lot of people that got these different bank accounts and these different ways of scamming folks, unfortunately, and everything like that. So, yeah, but some of them are in other countries, in other places and everything like that.
But
so
it's
definitely
not all in Russia. It's
not all in Russia. It's
right.
not all.
I'm just trying to tell people that's not where the biggest scams are.
The scammer who was sending you false letters from your mortgage company, they didn't hack you. They likely paid for somebody else to have hacked you. I just pulled up a thing called the Dark Web Price Guide. If you're a scammer, how much does it cost to buy randos information? so you can see if you can scam them. So if you want a copy of somebody's driver's license, it'll cost you about $100. You want credit card details with the 3-digit code and more than a $5,000 balance to access, it'll cost you $120. Online banking login, $60 to $200. The full identity package, which is name, social security, date of birth, and address, will run you between $20 and $100.
And I get a feeling, just like the nurses who did the first big credit card scam, I get a feeling that these mortgage scams are insiders, like somebody who has a license to do mortgages and they have access to all the databases of everyone's mortgage so that they can call you and say, hey, we can give you a better deal, because that does exist. They have to pay for it, but it does exist. So I get a feeling that these scam artists are insiders.
Yeah,
First.
I don't know that they're doing the work, but maybe they're selling the stuff. They make a deal with like, you know, the
scammers.
Scammers, they make a deal with a scammer for every, you know, mortgage package, which is name, address, you know, company they use. Maybe they get, you know, $5 to $10, and they turn over, you know, a couple thousand of these names. They make a few $1,000, and the scammers go fishing.
A part of the scam is because the scams are easy, because you just mentioned the last 4 digits. So those are the harder part of the digits to get, which I had forgotten. I mean, I probably knew this back in the day and everything like that. But the first 3 digits are easy to remember, because most of the first 3 digits of our Social Security are based on your zip code and everything like that. So
the first 3 digits are determined by what state
right,
you're born in or apply to get your Social Security number.
Right.
And you indicated maybe it's more granular than that each state has like a 10-digit span, and right, where you are in those digits all, you know, is more, you know, belong to an area of the state.
Right.
There's so much complicated by our ID and data. Now they want more, just so that you can vote. And I think that we don't need any more.
Jatovi, you're the youngest one here. What are we missing here in talking about scams?
I mean, there are tons of scams that are out there, from internet scams to email scams to everything that's out there. So truthfully, even with audio in the background right now,
sorry about that.
No, it's okay. But truthfully, anybody can fall for scams. The flat Earth theory is a scam. There are many beauty products that are a scam. These same things dealing with the when COVID hit and people were coming up with random ideas to clear COVID. There were a bunch of scams there. Dr. Sebi put out scams. So there people fall for scams because you're looking for answers and looking for help, and you need that security, you need that answer, and you'll fall for it because you want not only will you a lot of smart people fall for scams, a lot of young people fall for scams. Heck, Trump is a con artist. He ran a whole scam and people fell for it. So,
well, they seek your vulnerabilities first, right? A good con man, seek your vulnerabilities and needs. So.
Yeah, they seek that and everything.
Can we quickly talk about Trump? Trump and his family are currently involved in 6 cyber schemes, which are basically con games. They're kind of Ponzi schemes where Trump loans his name to a Trump coin, and people pile in, and the price goes up, and then the first person out does a rug pull. They pull their money out while the price is high. Then Trump pulls out as much money as he can. That collapses the price. and every other sucker who came into the scam later when the price was already high loses almost all their money.
I mean, that's happened. I mean, that's been a part of the cryptocurrencies and stuff like that for a long time. It's also in the stock market that's happened. Matter of fact, Mike Johnson went on and literally said that we should legalize insider trading for the people in Congress.
Because they only make $174,000 a year, and they need to be able to trade to make a decent living, because 174 grand isn't enough.
Trump is in the news, and we got Sasha here as well, because Trump apparently is demanding that the Senate fire the parliamentarian who ruled against his ballroom funding plan. So the ballroom won't be funded after the Senate GOP dropped a $1 billion Trump security request. So it looks like he's not going to get the funding that he wanted to get and everything like that. But I'm sure that he
got to sell my ball gown now. Damn it!
He got to sell your ball gown now. You can't go everything like that, because he's got to get rid of that ball gown that you were gonna.
Well, the money has to come from someplace, because I just saw a picture this morning. They are building the underground bunker that will sit under the ballroom. So I don't know.
Are they building it?
But they are. They've poured concrete. There's pipes. It's a full-on active construction site. Somebody has to pay for that.
Well, what they're saying is that in a blow to the White House, Senate Republicans are removing a $1 billion Secret Service funding request that would help President Donald Trump's ballroom project from their immigration enforcement funding bill amid internal objections. So they're been told that the ballroom money is out. That's what Senator John Kennedy.
What about the $1.8 billion that they've just assigned to give to the J6 rioters for
that still has to pass the $1.8 billion for the friends of Trump who felt persecuted when they got charged for attacking the Capitol. That still has to pass muster with some judge. The cops who were assaulted on January 6th are suing to stop this fund, but legal experts say that they probably don't have legal standing.
Why are they not even giving that money to the first responders and to teachers?
This is for
military. Why are we assigning it to criminals? Why?
You're asking a question that you already know the answer to. He pardoned a group of people to begin building his army. The man is not trying to leave in 2028. He's already now going to pay the same people. They don't care if they assaulted police officers. They don't. If they cared, they would have been upset that he pardoned those people. So anybody who says, well, we're nobody who's assaulted, you didn't care when he pardoned them, so you don't care if they get money now. So he's paying these people because they committed crimes in his name. That is what any mobster does. He's building his own army.
Well, he also doesn't want them to turn on him with all the other things that he's doing, because some of them, if they do truly start learning and seeing and opening their eyes, they're going to realize he's a pedophile, and some of them are going to turn against him for that.
So can we talk about the war for a second? So
real quick though,
Iran has announced that.
Real quick though, before we jump to that, because actually we can hit on that because of the drones. They're talking about 6 months out and they're back full. But either way, you guys have watched The Godfather. Everybody here has seen the movie The Godfather.
Yeah,
in The Godfather, they did not care what they did. They didn't care who they killed. They didn't care who they slept with. They weren't going to turn on them as long as they were paying them.
Yeah.
That's true,
they will
but I've never seen that.
Everything because they're getting paid and they have power, and that money and that power brings that respect that they want. So he's paying his people in 2028. And honestly, this election here, they're going to have people at these different election polling sites to make sure that people don't vote for particular people. They floated that idea already. Now they're going to pay those people to be there.
Yeah, and Trump doesn't particularly care whether this money comes through or not. It's one of a million ways that he can scam people. Some things are going to work, some things aren't. Sasha's got a thing to say.
I'd like to say that probably on a bigger picture, the phenomenon of Trump is going to be very positive for America. Why? Because the Constitution of the United States is not perfect. The reason why it's not perfect, Trump showed exactly that one charlatan, a con man, can actually manipulate all systems, and there are no good defensive mechanism, because the forefather of the United States, they couldn't believe that someone slipped back and a con man could ever become a president of the country. They just refused to believe and take it into account. But that happened. So now it will take probably dozens of years to clean up the garbage what he really done with the United States, that the United States is now being despised all over the world, and nobody wants to deal with United States. It's being ostracized elsewhere. It's in spite of his promises, there will be no new war or so on. There is a war after war after war. Now Iran is still going on. He's talking about Cuba, whatever is going to be next. And then I just heard the congressional hearings about the budget for Pentagon. So this is, when you were talking about scams, this is by far the biggest scam on American people, and they're all defenseless about it until they will come to vote at midterm election and presidential election. The con is this. So they're saying that, okay, the stockpile is depleted. We need new weapons. And for that, we need $1.5 billion, sorry, my mistake, $1.5 trillion. Why? To rebuild the stockpile, which then the next war will start and that new stockpile will be depleted. So they will ask for $3 trillion to remake the stockpile and so on. This is by far the biggest fraud. Because, for example, Ukraine, for a fraction of that money, probably for 1% of this money, they could build incredible army of drones, and they could deal with almost any country who would attack Ukraine or United States, for that matter, too. So, but they don't want to do it because there is no money to be made on drones. They're cheap. They don't need it. They made $1.5 trillion. So they will put a lot of money into their pockets and their friends' pockets and the traditional manufacturers and so on. This is by far the biggest fraud because people, okay, in some other internet frauds, okay, so you can be more or less defensive about it and dismiss it, all kind of offers. But here you are defenseless. The money are coming through you, by you, from you, and it's feeding up an enormous, basically, in my opinion, it's a scam. It's a real scam on America.
All right, so the U.S. has a way to, you run the government until the wheels come off, and we have a way to amend the government through literal amendments to the Constitution. And historically, we were able to do that at great cost. The Civil War killed 3% of Americans. Just a brutal freaking war, but we came back from it. We were able to change the government, you know, not completely because we left some shitty stuff in place, but we were able to change, and the wheels are currently pretty much off, and we'll see if we can change ourselves enough to, you know, to make America great again. So the war stuff. So Iran says, no way, we're not going to give up any nuclear material. Iran is now in negotiations with Oman. Iran owns the north side of the Strait of Hormuz. Oman controls the south side, this little teeny country. And they've decided that when things get back to normal, they might start charging $1 million toll for every oil tanker that goes through the strait.
That's a lot of money and everything like that.
One more thing. This guy, Kim will know who this guy is. I don't, but he's some kind of oil sheik. He's the CEO of ADNOC. And this guy says even after things get back to normal, it could take 4 months to get the oil supply up to even 80% of the pre-war levels. And right now, oil is remains well over $100 a barrel.
Hey, Rick, an issue that you talk about quite often and everything like that, and it's not about the war, but it is something that is very concerning to people in the country. But apparently there is a bipartisan effort to deal with it, and that is the whole issue of housing affordability. So apparently yesterday, the House and in the House, the Republicans and Democrats voted to pass a bill to address the nation's housing affordability crisis. It encourages home building across the country and would ban corporate landlords from buying up more than 350 houses. So the bill passed 396 to 13 and is in an amended version of one passed by the Senate 2 months earlier. So they're saying that the shortage of homes has driven up the prices to an average of $400,000, well outside the range of what many Americans can afford. So what is our thoughts around this notion that apparently there is a housing crisis and even the politicians realize that and are trying to do something about it?
Well, yeah, but it's one of those things that's all politicized and a lot of blame doesn't necessarily go where it should go. Like anybody who says that if you deport enough immigrants, that housing prices will go down. Well, immigrants are not buying houses for $400,000. Who's buying houses? Hannity on Fox News. That guy owns more than 1,100 residential properties. Hannity gets paid about $35 million a year, and he turns that money around into investing in rental properties. So it's big companies, it's investors who buy them up. And so any kind of thing that would limit companies in any way from buying up hundreds of homes might help a little bit.
Kim, just really quickly in that same realm, because they're just saying that just getting more homes into the market faster would help ease the shortage. But Realtors.com is estimated that there is a 4 million unit gap between available housing and the demand. So that means that there are 4 million houses that are needed in in the United States and everything like that. So what's your thoughts around that? Because you've been to Texas, you've been to North Carolina, you've been to a lot of places, and you've seen some of these homeless folks that are fighting to get a home. So what's your thoughts around this 4 million gap? Because that's a large gap.
I would have to dig deep into those numbers and find out where they collected the data from. It's kind of like the data we collected for domestic violence. Not everything was reported, or was enforced to be reported because of the way the laws are written. So I think what we need to do is just, that is a huge gap. And it's not going to get any better if it's that big. I'm just going to say our economy is a tidal wave going the wrong direction, and it's not even a river up. Okay. It's not trickle down by any means. And we've got to stand strong as people. There are millions of us versus the government making the decision. And the government is supposed to be working for us. And they have proven, I would even say for 12 years, they have proven they have not been working for us. Okay. And it's not just about the president, but now the people are the government. And what we need to remember is we are the government. We did elect them, but we need to take a stand and say they can no longer vote on their salaries. That's rule number one. They don't vote on their salaries. We vote on their salaries. Okay. 2, when they start shutting down the government, then they lose their job. Period. You shut down the government, because if you do that at work, you lose your job. They're not working for us, and we have a choice. But there are millions of us versus, a few of them. I don't know why this is happening. I really don't.
I asked AI why. So,
okay.
So among the reasons are decades of underbuilding. In 2008, we had the collapse of a major scam in the U.S. that was built around giving people mortgages who couldn't really qualify for mortgages, and then selling those mortgages, those crappy mortgages, to investors. That whole thing collapsed in 2008. That became the Great Recession. And if you remember, like towns like Vegas had thousands of homes that suddenly became vacant as these people who were given homes, people who worked in a, now it would be great that if somebody who works at Jack in the Box for $8 an hour could have a 4-bedroom home. And in 2007, thousands of people at that income level were given homes, and they eventually fairly quickly defaulted on their mortgages. And then those houses became vacant, and then that killed the housing construction industry, because the U.S. was looking at these, a ton of homes that people couldn't afford to get into.
So it wasn't just about not affording to get into it. It was the balloon interest rate. They had a low or no interest rate.
Part of the scam was teaser rates. Hey, person who works at Jack in the Box, here's this beautiful home. You can have it for a mortgage payment of $200 a month for the first 2 years. And the family's like, awesome. 2 years comes up, that mortgage payment balloons from $200 a month to $1,800 a month. Boom, they're out of the house. So anyway, but right now you've got asset inequality. People over 45 years old in America have 94% of the assets. And those assets include homes. And if you're somebody my age, we've lived in our house for 27 years. And the house is paid off. But even if it weren't, we would have locked in an interest rate of 3% when interest rates were low. Now, we can't sell our house if we've got a 3% interest rate, because now we'd have, if we bought a new house, we'd have to get a 6% interest rate, and we can't afford that. So we sit on our house, so there's no turnover in the housing market.
There's no
I think
turnover in job market either.
Well, I think there's a bigger picture, and it all boils down to priorities. If you think about it, Rick, you got your computer ready. How many homeless are in Detroit?
Okay. I can tell you how many in LA, 72,000.
Okay, but we'll start with Detroit. This is going to be a fun one.
Isn't that where they were supposed to build manufacturing facilities?
On any given night, there are between 1,500 and 1,800 people having literal homelessness in Detroit. That is, they're sleeping outside.
So how many car factories closed down in Detroit?
Let's see. How many car factories were in Detroit? So that's there are currently 3 active vehicle plants operating within Detroit city limits. During the early 1900s, more than 125 different car companies operated out of Detroit. Motor City.
So you got 3 factory plants.
3, this many.
3, that many. And then if you think about it, that is what, more than we'll even say that out of that 100 and some odd car companies that were active out of there, had maybe about another, we'll just say 10 plants, 10 car factory plants that sit empty in Detroit. With more than
wait, I got more recent number. In 1970, there were 10 to 12 major automotive assembly plants operating within Detroit city limits.
Okay, so I was roughly correct. I mean, 10 empty plants, 10 giant empty buildings with 15,000 people that are homeless. So my point is that we have the opportunity to house those individuals in those car factory plants. We could actually chop that up, but it costs money. And because we decide to spend our money in particular ways, our money that we want to spend goes to the J6ers who did this whole riot, billions of dollars to go there. Oh, well, we need more money. As Sasha points out correctly, we need more money to go and bomb a place that we supposedly bombed into submission already, to bomb them much more, because we were told to bomb them because we have to bomb them. Yeah, 1 point some odd trillion dollars to go do that again.
So I just looked it up while you were talking. There is 1 billion square feet of vacant office space in the U.S. Yeah, you can, if you could figure out a cheap way to convert office space into residential.
I mean, wasn't that the conversation?
That goes all down to, again, what do we prioritize? And then these individuals that are buying up these neighborhoods, buying up these homes, and actually doing the whole gentrification thing in the first place, because that's where we sit right now, is we're pushing poor people out, we're pushing brown people out, we're pushing women out. It's all going to a particular set of people that you better be able to pay $10,000 to live in this little home. I mean, there's rental area in different areas of downtown Durham to downtown Detroit to downtown Memphis to downtown different places in California that are millions of dollars just to rent them out for a year.
Well, and on top of all of that and the money being dispersed inappropriately to criminals, you have the Trump and his family being given full immunity from paying taxes. And I'm wondering how many more billionaires and millionaires are going to follow in precedence of that situation, right? They just set precedents not only not have to pay taxes, but they cannot be audited. So you've got a lot going on that's going to cut the revenue flow to the things we need in our society. And Warren Buffett and Bernie Sanders, a lot of people don't like him, but they both have mentioned, they're both very experienced and financially experienced, that if we don't have to tax the wealthy any more than what we tax anyone else. But if we did tax them and hold their toes to it, the debt would be wiped clean. Debt would be wiped clean.
The thing is, we are supposed to be dealing with a progressive tax rate. We don't deal with that because many in that upper echelon are able to use loopholes that nobody else can use. And when you're looking at unrealized capital gains, you're not taxing those, even though that they can buy homes and get money off of those unrealized capital gains. So therefore, you're taxing somebody who gets a paycheck, but you're not taxing and they use that money in that paycheck to buy their homes. But somebody who has unrealized capital gains, they don't get taxed on that. But they can buy mansions and $1 million homes with those. So that in itself is a problem. There are many loopholes again. And when we're talking about taxes, also, if you look at one thing Jeff Bezos said in an interview, I think it was this week, where he talked about, well, you can tax me more, but it's not going to help out the teacher. Yes, it will. Yes, it legitimately will.
Well, the thing is we can tax them more on the upfront. The thing is when they file their taxes or their accountants do it for them, they get all their money back. This is the thing I keep telling people. It's not that they don't pay taxes. Okay. But it's illegal not to. And I mean, if some of them are doing it, whatever, but you pay taxes, but it's your tax deductions and the cuts that you get back when you file. That they totally misuse their rights to, or maybe they don't. Maybe they are perfectly legal doing what they're doing because the law says it is. But they
the IRS is broken. It's totally underfunded. So if you're a billionaire, you have your lawyer, you have your accountant. File this return that plays a lot of games. Then your accountant's like, we'll try it, we'll see. And then maybe you get a letter from the IRS saying, what the heck is this? And then you say, well, it's this. And you go back and forth for months. And then maybe the IRS, maybe you're unlucky enough that the IRS is like, we don't think that's right, and we're going to take you to court. Well, then you go to court, and it takes you. And meanwhile, you get to keep your money. But
they don't audit millionaires and billionaires. They really don't. I mean, unless they are going after somebody criminally, they
don't have the staff to.
That's why.
Well, but they have the staff to audit millions and millions of middle class who have no money to fight the legal battle against an audit.
Well, they don't
So they
really
have a staff.
They
They
don't
do.
really. They
They
don't
have the
really.
resources.
What they have is, because I've been around. What they do. They have the staff enough to write enough code that when something is hinky on your return, you get a computer generated letter and it says, "Can you please explain this?" And then you do. You write it, and you either say, "Well, this is what I was thinking." Then you get another letter back. Maybe at some point a person reads the letter, but mostly it's all computer generated. And then you send in a document, and it's.
But they go after people who
simple
can't
math.
fight.
But the problem is it's simple mathematics. If, for example, right now, if we're IRS employees and we have till tomorrow to get through 100 tax returns, and 10 of those tax returns take 4 hours to go through, we're not going through those 10 that take 4 hours a piece to go through. That needs more. That means we need more staff to cut down the time on the ones that take the 4 hours to go through. So therefore, we're going through those 90 that only take maybe about 30 minutes. It is just a mathematical equation that is a fact. We don't have enough staff to go through the billionaires and trillionaires now, but to go through their tax.
There's only 1
I've
trillion.
been through the audit.
Right. So
and
here's
they
what
take
here's what
days,
here's
not
what IRS
hours. They
says.
take
Here's what AI says. Morale at the IRS is broadly described as severely low and deteriorating, driven by massive federal workforce downsizing, abrupt layoffs of probationary employees, leadership turnover, and intense micromanagement. So the IRS is a mess. Like I said, it's broken. And the people there are probably like, F it, that we're not getting any support. My job is miserable. Rich people are able to avoid our, and
again, it all goes back to the staffing, but we demonize the staffing. Like when, for example, when they talked about the 80,000, the 90,000 people that Biden wanted to add to, well, he wasn't actually adding 90,000 people to do tax returns.
no,
He was
customer
actually-
service. They wanted to add those people. So
Yep.
when you call the IRS, you wouldn't spend 3 hours on the phone, but
So-
somebody would pick up within 15 minutes.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is we have to realize that because we have 330 plus million people, and we still do have a particular number of millionaires, and we do have a small set of billionaires, to be able to do their tax returns in that particular time allotted that they are given, we do have to increase the staffing to be able to handle that. If we're going to be able to effectively hold their feet to the fire, we need that IRS to be actually fully staffed and actually
It's not going to happen as long as in our last minute, I want to go back to the housing shortage. So I looked up Canada to see if it's as bad where Sasha is. Yeah, there's a huge housing shortage in Canada too. There is, the problem is also partially the solution. But the housing shortage is so bad that 5% of the baby shortage, according to studies, is because people aren't having babies because there's no place to have a family. They can't afford a house, so they're having fewer babies. So 18 years from now, when those babies who don't exist don't grow up to look for housing, the housing market might get slightly better because there are fewer people looking for housing.
Might get better over an 18-year period and everything like that. I didn't get to it, but we'll maybe get to it in world politics at 5 o'clock before the Coco McMillan show and everything like that. But we did lose a liberal advocate who passed away this evening, and maybe Rick will have some thoughts around him on the 5 o'clock show, and that was Barney Franks and everything like that. So on that note, we're getting ready to get on out of here, and we'll have more news at 5 o'clock and other shows during the course of the day.